polished receivers in the free agent market, but coming off a season-ending injury. Now, he spent quality time with the Patriots, his first known off-season visit. He had some dinner with staffers last night, meetings, and a physical today. So the Patriots haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver in the last 5 seasons. They're the only team without one. New England's last 1,000-yard wide receiver was Julian Edelman in 2019. That was Tom Brady's final season with the team. But what about Stefon Diggs? 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons from 2018 to 2023. All right, Mina, let's start with you. How do you like Diggs as a fit in New England?
I think it makes a lot of sense, Hannah, and they should be interested. Obviously, Stefon Diggs is coming off of the ACL injury and is getting up in the years somewhat. But last year, before he got hurt, he was incredibly productive for the Houston Texans. In fact, through that Week 8 injury, he ranked 4th amongst all receivers in catches under 20 yards. He was actually 3rd in ESPN's receiver score. In him, you know you're getting a crafty and experienced route runner with reliable hands, somebody who Drake May could target, again, particularly in the short and intermediate parts of the field. Now, it doesn't mean they're done at receiver. You still need speed. You still need a big-bodied perimeter threat. But as far as bringing in a veteran to what is currently constituted a pretty underwhelming group, I would not dislike it for New England, especially because I don't think it would cost them very much.
Yeah, listen, I agree. Listen, we all know about the injury and obviously being on the wrong side of 30. But the one thing that Stefon Diggs would bring is a veteran presence, a chain mover. Kind of like him to like Keenan Allen, a guy that a young quarterback and Drake May can look to in critical situations. And by no means are you going to stop with the Stefon Diggs if you bring it on board, because I still think they need an explosive element on the outside. But they need to add a veteran presence to I think, calm down a young quarterback, where a guy that, you know what, on 3rd and 5, I can look to Stefon Diggs to move the chains and continue to drive.
Yeah, the good news is they have their quarterback, and they also have another option at wide receiver. This is according to Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft, and that would be Travis Hunter. The Patriots have the 4th overall pick. The question remains, which side of the ball will he play the most? Is it going to be a receiver or a DB? Bill, if they take Hunter, where do you see them playing him the most?
Yeah, I really think he could be a guy who plays on both spots, but cornerback is going to be the place where I think he can make the biggest difference and give the Patriots a defensive identity. Last year, their best player was Christian Gonzalez, who was an all-pro pick for me, a super underrated player, allowed a 71.7 passer rating in coverage while playing in one of the most man-to-man heavy schemes in all of football. He had the sort of most difficult workload of any quarterback in the league and did a really good job against it. Now you bring in Hunter, and that cornerback duo is suddenly allowing you to do anything you want on the defensive side of the football. You want to blitz a ton and play man-to-man behind it? You have 2 great corners who can do that. You want to play cover 3 and have your 2 cornerbacks outside patrolling either sideline? You have guys who can do that. He allows them to do whatever they want on defense. And then on top of that, you can start working him on a wide receiver. There's going to be opportunities there. Maybe it's 10 snaps a game. Maybe it's 20 snaps a game. Maybe it's only 3 or 4 snaps a game. But you're getting something out of him as a wide receiver, adding to the value at cornerback.
I am so torn on this, Bill, because I have said that I think Travis Hunter could be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And I also don't like the idea of his position being determined solely by need. However, if the Patriots were to take him, not only do they already have 2 good cornerbacks in Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, who they signed this year, he would so obviously, in my opinion, be the best receiver on the roster. It would be really, really hard for them not to play him at receiver. I mean, you can just imagine him practicing with the cornerbacks while Drake May in the offense stares longingly at him, praying for a receiver like him. It might be one of the few teams, candidly, where he actually might get more play both ways. But I have to say, if he were to go to New England, I would have a slight tilt towards receiver just because of the importance of not wasting or setting back young Drake May, their quarterback.
Yeah, this would be the perfect player for Mike Vrabel, a guy who played both ways, when he was a player in the National Football League. And, for a guy like Travis Hunter, I think they really need him on the offensive side. The explosive element that the Patriots have been lacking for so long, he would bring that added element. And listen, I do think on the defensive side, he's more accomplished. He's better on that side. His instincts are outstanding. But listen, playing him on the offensive side with the lack of weapons that New England has, I'm pretty sure Drake May would love to have that type of athlete on that side of the ball.
This is a pretty good problem to have, isn't it, you guys? He's just too good at too many things. Truly. All right, well, let's go on to the Bay. The 49ers have lost a lot of talent in free agency, and they haven't really been able to replace it. They signed just one player for $10 million or more. That was tight end Luke Farrell, agreeing to a 3-year, $20 million deal. Now, the 8 guys that the Niners lost that you see right here, they signed free agent deals worth a total of $291 million. Obviously, this does not include Deebo Samuel. They traded him to the Niners, and Kyle Juszczyk, you see him there. Well, he was released, and then he was almost immediately re-signed with the team. Here's John Lynch on the Niners' plan to rebuild the roster, and I quote, "We've got this thing called the draft, and we've got a lot of picks, and I think the thing that the fans should know is we have a plan, and we're going to execute that plan, and we're excited about the opportunity. Last year, we had such a good roster. I think we doubled down and said, let's go for this thing. And we kind of pushed all the chips in, knowing that at some point you're going to have that reset. And this was the year." And of course, we know the Niners still have not reached a contract extension with Brock Purdy, although we know that's on the way. Their plan is to grow from the draft, Bill. What should their priority be?
Well, John Lynch had to remind the fans that what picks are, because they didn't have very many of them over the last few years with all those trades they made for Christian McCaffrey, Trey Lance. They sent 8 picks out, including 3 first-rounders, one of which, by the way, became Micah Parsons, who'd be a pretty good fit on this 49ers team. The thing they have to address, this is about where Micah Parsons plays, the defensive line. And that does seem crazy because you have Nick Bosa, who's a superstar, but think about all the talent they've lost on the defensive line over the last 2 years. On the edge, they trade for Chase Young, don't bring him back. They sign Leonard Floyd and then cut him after a season. They cut Arik Armstead. On the interior, they lose Javon Kinlaw at defensive tackle. They just cut Javon Hargrave. Malik Collins are 2 defensive tackles. They need to add pieces around Bosa.
Bill, my brother, we are thinking the exact same thing. The defensive line. Who is their defensive coordinator now? Robert Saleh. That system thrives on the defensive line and getting after the quarterback. And so when you look at, since Robert Saleh was gone when he left, there was kind of a drain on the San Francisco 49ers defense. They need to start replenishing that defensive line, because that is the staple of a Robert Saleh defense, is the defensive front dictating the terms. That's where they should head, early in the draft.
Yeah, don't disagree with you guys at all about the defense. I'm going to go to the other side on the trenches. Trenches really should be the theme of the draft for the 49ers, because the offensive line also is in need of replenishment. Trent Williams, still one of the best left tackles in the NFL, getting up in the years, obviously had some injuries last year. They hit on their 3rd-round draft pick last year, the guard Dominic Cooney, who was excellent. But outside of that, really, I could see them drafting a tackle, center, or a guard. And honestly, they should just take the best player available on that for that offensive line. But that has to be a priority for this team, especially with young Brock Purdy most likely getting a big contract soon. He needs protection.
And here's the thing. They have 11 picks. They're tied with the Ravens for the most in the NFL, and they have 4 in the top 100. All right, meanwhile, the team that finished atop the NFC, the Lions, they proposed a change to the playoff structure. While division winners would still get an automatic spot in the playoffs, they would no longer be guaranteed a top 4 seed and a home game. Instead, overall records would decide that seeding. So let's take a look at how that actually would have played out in the NFC last year. As you can see, the Bucs and the Rams, they would have dropped from the 3 and the 4 all the way to the 6 and the 7. And then the 14-3 Vikings, they would move up to the 3 seed. The Commanders would have been the 4. The Vikings, the reason they're behind the Eagles is because that first tiebreaker is for division champs. So in order to jump a division winner, a team would need to have a better outright record. Got all that? Okay. T. Woody, are you a fan of this new proposal?